All right, hey guys, welcome back to Scope. Today we're going to be speaking about if the education system has failed the ethnic minorities. We've got Abdifatah, myself, Yasmin, and Fatima, who are YouTubers, and among other things as well. But yeah, what do you guys think?
It's not. I don't think it's only ethnic minorities, but yes, it's the whole like middle class and the working class and stuff. Well, depending on the area you're from, you're gonna have better schools. So the area I was from, most people couldn't even get like five GCSEs, A to C, and it was like it's okay if you do what they call apprenticeships.
All right, yeah.
It's okay for you to do BTech. Well, nothing wrong with BTech, but they're making it look like
That's the way to go.
Yeah, that's the way you need to. That's the route for you because
they try to make it look like you're dumb in it. Like, this is you should go. Not to say that BTech people are dumb, but I'm saying like they try to like sell you this other path because you're not like as smart as everyone else, or like as smart as like the people in your class or whatever, etc.
Yeah, for those who are not from England, GCSE is just basically high school. Is that what they call it? High school. So there's different. There's GCSEs, then there's BTech where you don't have to do exams. It's just coursework.
Although there are exams.
Yeah, now apparently nowadays I don't even know about the curriculum now, but apparently there's exams. But that's the route they make you take, and they make you. They tell you, listen, this is not. I don't think you can go to these certain universities, because I remember when I was applying, and they said to me, "What university you want to go to?" Right. And I must have said the Red Brick University, so that like the University of Birmingham, King's, blah blah, all of these. Yeah. So the top 18, I think. Yeah. It's something like that.
Russell Group. I've heard of Russell Group, not Red Brick.
Russell Group, I think it's just London.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No. Red Brick is all the. Yeah. I think that's what it is.
Clearly, I wasn't aiming that high.
She went to Russell Group.
Is it?
Yeah.
So they'll make you look like that's not achievable. So they would tell you maybe you should go to a local one down the road from you. Not that obviously I'm not throwing shade at some of the others, but there is a ranking, you know. So to start off, I think they are, to be honest.
If I can just add to that point, I'd say I can only speak for London, obviously we're not from the same place, but I feel like that point that you just mentioned at the end is something that you find in all schools, like implicit racism, and I feel like it's one thing that both good and bad students have in common. If you're an ethnic minority, it doesn't matter if you're a bad student or if you're a good student, you will suffer the same implicit racism, where if you maybe, I wouldn't call it misbehave, but maybe if you happen to have a more, social or, extroverted personality, you'll be labeled as troublemaker because of the color of your skin or your ethnicity. And then if you're a good student and you're in the high sets, it's like, well, why are you in this class? And they just, slowly kind of just beat you down so that you don't, you kind of internalize the racism. I feel like that's one thing that most ethnic minority students have in common. You will come across at some point in your education a teacher who just doesn't think good of you, irrespective of how well or how badly you do. See, like when a teacher told you to not aim high, what was it based on? Did they have your report in front of them, or was it just based on, okay, this is, a Somali boy?
It was just based on me being Somali, to be honest, and them saying, I don't think it's for you. So they will make the decisions for you, and because you're young, you listen to your teachers, you look up to your teachers. Yeah. So when they said to me, like, for example, medicine wasn't for me, I started doubting myself. Is it not me? Like, do I like medicine? Do I like sciences? You start questioning yourself, but because I knew exactly what I wanted to do, it didn't affect me. But I know a lot of youngsters who have done subjects that they didn't even like in school. Yeah. Because that's how they've been programmed. From young, like, kids are sponges. They will take anything. All the advice you give them, they will take it. So... Yeah.
I had this like one experience when I was like in secondary school where like you get assigned, I don't know if it's happened in London, but you get a mentor if you're like a bad behaved kid. So you get like someone that looks after you, or someone that you can seek advice for, etc. Like or tells you how to do things. And we had a couple of like Somali mentors in my school, and one of them was like you need a mentor. I'm like, I don't need one. I'm not like, I'm getting good grades. I'm doing this and that. And he's like, no, you definitely need one. I'm like, no, I misbehaved. I'm like, I'm calm and collected. You know, I don't need one because it's a bad image that comes along with it. Like you need some help or whatever for like some extra help. Because only the kids that are like misbehaving or getting bad grades get a mentor. And then at that point, he was like, all right, then if you don't want one, I'm gonna like make you get one. And I was baffled by that point because I was like, yo, this guy, my people. Why is he moving so weird? But he went on to like my head of my group of people. It's like I don't know what it is, but it's we have like different tie colors, etc. But he went up to her and told her like I was misbehaving, I was doing this and that I needed him as a mentor. And then he had to go through my my tutor, and he was like, no, this guy's good, and he was the only one that backed it. And if he didn't back it, like I would have had a mentor, and then I don't know what kind of effect that would have had on me for the rest of my life. But if he didn't say like, oh, this guy doesn't need a mentor, then this guy literally could have like messed up my whole life. And
was he coming from a good place or?
Nah, he was like in a negative place. Like I think he was like trying to, because if they are not used, then they're seen as redundant.
Okay, right.
So he's got to like it's like trying to get your clients. Yeah, so he's got to see like, I need this, I need that. I don't think he was coming from a good place because he was like, I'm going to make you get one. Don't worry about it. And he was always, I don't know, he's a weird guy. I seen him the other day.
Can I add a story to that? I just remembered as you were saying that. So, well, I have a lot of school stories, but I just remembered one quite similar to that. When I was in year 9, so end of Key Stage 3, I was 14. There was this sixth form initiative where older students who were trying to get UCAS points started this initiative where they wanted to read to younger students like lower down in the school. And the sixth form area was in a part of the school that happened to be near my tutor group where we would be registered every morning. And so naturally they just came to the first classroom that was, lower school. And they came to my classroom and they explained the initiative, and my form tutor, a white man, straight away, like I used to sit between two white children, like we were sat in alphabetical order. He was just like, Yasmin, like no question, like, Yasmin, get up then, go read. When I was a kid, honestly, I think it was when I just started year 1, I was like a free reader, like the first person in my class. I remember I got given a certificate. I was like, oh, you're like, look at this, I can read books on my own. So now, that many years later, 9 years later, when I'm 14 years old, a man who barely knows me wants to tell people, that they can read to me. And I said to him, but I can read. I don't need support with reading. And he was like, why are you talking back to me? And I got in trouble. And I just remember feeling so demeaned because you're sat next to people who are already, as I was saying, implicitly racist towards you. And then it's like the teachers just affirm it. Like, we're going to pick her. What was it based on? He didn't know anything about how I could read, but I was still the one that was picked because I was the only, brown person in sight, or black person even in sight.
Exactly, it's pretty messed up. Like the way they do it as well, they make it look like they're doing you a favor. So they're like, yeah, you need it, you definitely need it.
And as I think you were saying, kids are very impressionable. They will internalize what you say to them. If you treat them badly, they'll think, that's it. Like I'm worthless. And if you uplift them, then they do well.
That's all it is, because they're not different. There is no. All right, you're more talented in certain subjects, but everyone can pick up a skill. So I remember it was year 9 or year 10 when we had to do the GCSEs beginning. They put me down for, at that time there was intermediate level as well. So intermediate level is where the highest grade you can get is a B, right? So no matter if you get 100% in that paper, you can only get a B. And I remember telling him, listen, I'm good at this subject. I don't want to be doing intermediate. He's like, no, we know what's good for you. You're gonna fail this exam, otherwise you need to do intermediate. And I remember being angry, going home and saying to my parents, like, I don't want to be doing intermediate, when a lot of my friends are doing higher paper and they're not smarter than me, you know what I mean? So I'm there like, what? No, I'm not. I told my dad came because he's a teacher, so he came to the school and was like, what the hell are you like playing at? They're like, sorry, we can't enter him in higher paper. My dad was like, listen, I'll pay it out of my own money if you guys are not. So what my dad did is, I sat the paper, same paper, I missed the intermediate exam and took it privately. And then
see, this is very unfair.
Yeah. So and then when I got my grade, I got maybe 5%, like from 100%. I got 95 or 96, something like that. And the teachers, well done. Oh my God, that is so amazing.
That's what they do.
I can't believe you got this. Wow, where did you get that from? Or like all of that dumb stuff, and you're thinking, what? Shut up. Right. And then after that, I remember speaking to my science teachers and all of them. I was like, I want to do sciences in college and uni. Like, can I go into higher paper? I was like, I'm not too sure. No. So my vice must have spoken to me and said, listen, let him do it. But I had to fight my way through this whole, like, in year 10. The other Somalis, I remember, majority of them were in intermediate or even lower foundation.
That's the thing, like, most of them, no one wants to fight for the thing.
They don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You know
That's what scares me. Like, I feel like not everyone has the fight in them, and everyone who does fight to defend themselves at school were people who were once hurt by some point in their education where they were judged as a student. And people just diverge into two groups. One group that will defend themselves at school is like a fight, like constantly every year, and then others that just don't fulfill their potential. And I always wonder how many children are there, or particularly like my interest is in Somali kids, that didn't fulfill their potential at school because of how they were beat down by members of staff in the school. Like I always wonder that, like, parents, Somali parents or ethnic minority parents usually are here because they immigrated to this country, and they send their children to school under the impression that they're in a better place than they've come from themselves, because like wherever they left from. And like I feel like because things are so implicit, so undercover, so many parents don't realize the effect that school teachers and the school system has on children. You'll hear Britain is meritocratic, Britain is this, Britain is that. It's this amazing place where if you don't take advantage of your opportunity. So imagine a child who is, demeaned and underestimated at school, and then at home gets the same treatment where they're told you're dubalata, failure, this, that, or the other, because their parents, like, there's a mismatch between what the parents understand of school and what the teachers understand of this person, like this ethnic minority.
Can I just chime in? My obviously opinions on education, like just to give some context, obviously they're going to be based on like my own experiences. Like I grew up in Southeast London, like not majority, but like loads of ethnic minorities, but at the same time loads of white British like kids. Our school had a decent representation of like of ethnic minority like teachers. And like when I come to when I'm in discussions like this, or like when we've spoken to other people, and they always talk about like, oh, my teachers put me down like this, my teacher, like I told them I want to do medicine and they said this, they didn't see this in me, they didn't see that in me, like they sent me to go do reading. I'm just like, I've never come across any of this. Like, and it could be that I've just been, alhamdulillah, lucky enough to have a really good school experience. But I'm really like, wow, we've really demonized like the education system, like to the point where we're like, yeah, it's like it's failing the Somalis, it's failing the ethnic minorities. And so half of my sort of like viewpoint comes from obviously my own experiences, and alhamdulillah I've had a great like education experience. But my second sort of viewpoint comes from the fact that like I am a secondary school teacher myself. Like I work in a school, I teach science, and I can say that every single teacher that I know is a teacher and is working in either the school that I'm at now, or the schools that I've done placements in, or schools that I've been to do experience in, or any like interaction I've had with them. Not every, but majority of the teachers are there because they want their children to do well. They're there because they have a passion for a subject, or they have a passion for working with young people, and they want to sort of kill two birds with one stone and be a teacher. Obviously, like I said, not every single teacher is like that, but I feel like the majority of teachers are. And I feel like we've got to a point where like I just have to back it for my teachers, because we're not evil. Like we're not evil people. Like when I look at my classes, I'm not like, okay, I don't want you to do medicine, so I'm going to tell you that you can't do it. And I know it's not that straightforward. I know sometimes it comes in like the form of, oh, well, I don't think you can do the higher paper, you should do intermediate. Sometimes you can't do the higher paper, like, and I'm not saying that from a general point of view. Like we have meetings, we sit down, we look at data. Look what, like I at the moment I don't teach the year 11s in my school, but at the moment they've been deciding which students do higher, which students do foundation, which is exactly like relevant, isn't it? So the process that they go through is, what mark have they got for every single one of their tests over the course of the year? What is their effort like? What is their interaction like in class? Do I think, knowing this student who I've taught for 2 years, do I think they are able to do a higher paper and then end up like getting a good grade? Or do they have a better chance? Because to get a C, like to get a pass grade, is much easier in a foundation paper than it is in a higher paper. And so that's sort of the point that they've come from there. So my main thing, just to add, because I feel like the viewpoint has just become very, very like anti-schools, and not anti-school, but like I think we tend to demonize schools and teachers a bit more than we need to. Like, okay, there are huge problems in the education system. I definitely agree. Like, I work in a school. I can see that myself. But at the same time, like, I feel like as a community, as ethnic minorities, as people in general, I think when we have issues, we spend too much time trying to pin it on, well, it's the system, well, it's the teachers, well, it's the this, well, it's the that. Every single, I know I'm being idealistic, but we need to have some sort of personal accountability, like for you, every situation that you are in. It's no use just saying, well, it's because the education system is failing the Somalis. Okay, well, how is it failing the Somalis? What are the particular problems? Like the other day I was in a conference and one of the teachers there was like, she said something along the lines of, because we were talking about parents' evening, and she was like, yeah, all the Somali students, their parents don't even come to the parents' evening. Usually it's an older sibling who's, you know, she doesn't really know what she's talking about, but she comes along for the sake of it. And these Somali students, like their family background, they come from a house of 8 children living in 2 bedrooms. The dad is always working as a taxi driver. I was like, how does she know that our dads are working as a taxi driver? But she was like making some sweeping statements. And first of all, I was sat there like, well, it wasn't the kind of situation where I could have like butted in and be like, first of all, that's not true. But she was making these sweeping statements, and it's true, people do have like sort of stereotypes, and that might affect how they might deal with certain people. But at the same time, like just the root of what she was saying about the lack of interaction from parents when it comes to things like parents' evening. Okay, fair enough, a lot of Somali parents don't speak English, but just in general, I feel like there needs to be much more, and it is improving, but I feel like there needs to be much more interest from Somali parents in their students' their children's education. Sorry, I know it's one thing to be like, well, we can't necessarily understand the system, so like, you know, there's not a lot I can do if I don't understand it. So all I'll do is like send them to tuition because I have money, I can pay for tuition. This person, you know, is gonna like do the work for me. But I don't know how it will happen, but I feel like there needs to be much more work from the parents' end. And I'm not downplaying the work that they do, but I feel like there still needs to be more, and there needs to be much more personal accountability, because I feel like for every case where there's something going wrong, instead of just saying, well, it's the education system and teachers are this and teachers are that, well, what have I done to help the situation? What have I done to contribute to it?
See, I agree with you. I completely understand like where you're coming from, especially considering you're a teacher. And
I mean, I'm not saying that just because I'm a teacher, I know everything. Like my experience is very
because even
biased.
before you were a teacher, you had this opinion.
Yeah.
As in, you know, that individuals need to have accountability, but like where I'm coming from, I mean, I don't mean to demonize teachers. I feel like I agree with you that the majority of teachers are good, and I could say more about the teachers that have helped me get to where I am than the ones that kind of held me back. But I'm talking about like the loopholes through like that, the things that fall in between these meetings, in between these grades, in between like the actual stuff you physically have, like record you have of a student, things that where people have come into a school as a teacher with this implicit, you know, this prejudice that they probably don't even realize that they have themselves, where it's in what they say and their demeanor and, you know, how they interact with somebody that ends up, you know, negatively affecting this child. Like most people don't come and say a teacher, you know, wrote a report where they were cussing me or telling me. No one has an actual physical report where they've been told don't apply to like a red brick university or don't apply to this. It's always, you know, in physical interactions, like what was said to them, or you know, a classmate, or just something verbal. It's always verbal, like it's very subtle, and that's where I'm coming from. And like what we're saying, I also agree that there does need to be personal accountability amongst students, but I also feel like amongst individual teachers also, because when I'm talking about teachers, I don't mean every single teacher in the country. I don't mean applies to, you know, all teachers, but the ones, you know, that are being rude. And Somali parents, I feel you will never meet a Somali parent who doesn't want their child to do well. So why is it that there are so many Somali or ethnic minority students who aren't? Like I feel like where the disconnect lies isn't so much, yes, there are parents who, you know, don't care, and I feel like a lot of the time when parents send their older siblings, as an example, is because they feel insecure about the fact that they might not have a language barrier, and feel that sending this person will be more useful to this individual. Like it always comes from a good place. And just, you know, as you were giving an example of that person in the conference, those are the exact kind of teachers I'm talking about. What has someone's dad being an Uber driver or a Addison Lee, whatever, got to do with their education? Why does it matter? Do you know what I mean? They combine all these like irrelevant factors to make a decision about a person. Like, I mean, I've worked in many schools also. Not not as a teacher, but I specifically focused on school exclusions. And one thing that I've noticed over the past year and a half that I've been doing it is a lot of the time Somali children suffer because the school knows they have parents who won't be able to articulate themselves very well and like defend, you know, that this child's position, where you know, like, I don't know if anyone's familiar with how school exclusion meetings work, but they bring this really intimidating file of every single good behavior, you know, good behavior record that you have and every single bad behavior point that you've received. And when someone's being excluded, you either exclude them based on multiple breaches where you can no longer, like, you know, the final straw kind of situation, or one serious breach. And every single child I've seen, a Somali kid, has been excluded based on one serious breach of behavior where they might have been involved in a fight, or, you know, something they did one day.
It's like a permanent thing though.
Yeah.
Okay.
But every single time in that meeting, you'll find a member of staff or just somebody, always never an ethnic minority, who will sit there and say when they were in year 7, they were chewing gum. When they were in year 8, they were talking back to somebody. Things, and you're not allowed to, that's illegal. Like, you're actually not allowed to bring up other things. But then you'll have a Somali parent sat there who's never heard before of all these things and will be so confused, and then will just apologize as if it's their fault when it's not. But you know, Somalis, they lack, in my opinion, people who represent them, and they're not gonna do well in school until people speak up for them. And so I don't think it's demonizing teachers. I think it's just more raising an awareness about how many hurdles they face in education, because all of society is like institutionally racist, and then school is like a statutory level where again there's implicit racism. So I feel like it's much bigger than ethnic minorities, the issues, and a lot of them do their part, but they will always be held back. Like, that's just how I feel, and I don't think it's necessarily a teacher's fault. I just blame the whole country, to be honest.
It's true. I just worry that sometimes and not necessarily you guys in particular, but you know, when we have these conversations, I feel like sometimes it's just become very easy to just sort of blame it on, it's the school, it's the teachers. It's not always the school, and it's not always the teachers. If your child is badly behaved, maybe you need to do something about your child being badly behaved. If you don't know what to do, then obviously that's a different situation. But I just worry that sometimes we become too complicit in just putting the blame on teachers and on the school.
No, it's true, like that victimization of, because we're black or because we're people of color, they're treating it this way, is something that does happen a lot. However, like, the kids studying now today in the system are different to us, because when we came, we were the first generation, the first few years. So for us, it was different. Yeah. So when I was starting school, like, they didn't even know what Somalis were. You know, we were the first batch of Somali boys or girls that started school, like that early 2000s for us. And so there were a few before that, but in my city, Birmingham, there weren't many. You know, they all came from other parts of the world. So they didn't know what Somalis were and so they saw all of a sudden 30 or 20 starting a school, you know, and not speaking the language properly. They probably saw, parents struggling with English, like fights and all of it, because it happens, you know. It's not about us demonizing teachers. It's basically when you're a teacher, like my father was a teacher, so like it's the way you teach, right? And some of these teachers, what they do is they will say or do something that will affect you forever. Like, they will say something that they may not know will affect you as a kid. So they will say a statement like, I don't think this is for you, or, I don't think you can hack this kind of, or I don't think you can sit this exam or whatever. But for them, it's just a statement. It's a mere statement. Like, it doesn't. But as a child, when you listen back to it, you think, you know what? I don't know. Am I really good at maths? I think I hate maths. You know how many people, I love maths. Like, my family are like maths based. Like, if you don't do good in maths, it's like, what? What's
your dad
going
a
on?
maths teacher?
No, no, my dad is a geography and Arabic teacher. So, like, if you in majority of Somali and African communities, maths is so easy for them. You know what I mean? So a lot of the people that hated maths is because from the house, Somali household, if you don't know maths, like, what's wrong with you? Are you a bit dumb or whatever? But in schools, a lot of people had crap maths teachers. They'll be like, I've met maths teachers when I take my siblings, they will show them one method, right? And if they don't understand it, they'll repeat it again. The third time, they'll be like, come on.
You need to understand it.
You need to understand it. In maths, there's 4 or 5 different methods to get to the same. exact answer. You know what I mean? So if your method does not work, try another method. And that's how it is. Sometimes you teach a kid a certain script or whatever, they don't understand it. You break it down for them and whatever, blah blah, and it works. But some people went into teaching and they don't know how to teach. They're smart.
Exactly.
They're smart. Like they know what they're talking about, but they're not teachers. Because I've seen lecturers that have monotone, standing in front of a group of lecturers, a group of students, and everyone's just on their phones, on their laptops, because they're so boring. And then you might have and she might be like she might wrote 15 different journals, so many awards for whatever she's doing, and there might be a guy that just finished university 5 years ago that is not as smart as this professor or whatever, but engaging, knows what they're doing. Like they're a better teacher, but they might not know as much knowledge as, you know. So I don't know what it is. You can't just blame the teachers. It's true, but there is a problem there. You know what I mean?
Well, from that point of view, like teachers not being good at their job, that's a huge problem at the moment as well, and that's something that doesn't necessarily just affect like ethnic minority students, because actually you'll find in a lot of schools that ethnic minority students are no longer the focus group because they're actually doing okay. The focus groups nowadays, more often than not, are actually the white British students. And so obviously teachers, like white working class white British students, definitely not the middle class, but you'll find that a lot of the time nowadays, finding good teachers is definitely a huge problem. And that's why for me, I always advocate that if you are going to be a teacher, don't just do it because it's something to do. Like so many people you'll come across who they finish their 3 years of uni and they're not necessarily sure where to go, so they'll be like, yeah, let me do PGC, let me be a teacher.
Exactly,
let me train as a teacher so I can go live in Dubai for a couple of years. Like that's, I mean, if that's what you want to do, well, that's what you want to do. Like the system is definitely there for you to exploit it if that's what, you know, if that's what's in your plans. But it is very, very important that the right people are in schools, and that's something that does not just affect, you know, Somali students, ethnic minority students in general. And as a teacher, I mean, just to give a bit of insight, when I was training, I had so much more free time, so much more time to be able to plan like really intricate lessons. Okay, how can I teach this in a creative way? How can I exactly provide like multiple methods of like, you know, differentiating the work, so that if a student, if I've got a class of 30 students, you know, 10 of them might be the high flyers, 10 of them might be really struggling, and the other 10 might be in the middle. How do I provide a lesson that really caters to every single one of their needs, so every single student can walk out after 60 minutes and have made some progress? But now the way our workload is set up, like you have no time for that. Like you're so pushed to literally just put together a lesson and just get from the beginning of the lesson to the end, and then from the beginning of the day to the end, that there's not enough time to really be thinking about all these techniques and ways to be making the lesson as productive as possible. And again, that's a nationwide problem. That's why the education system in the that will be, in my opinion, the downfall of the education system. The fact that teachers have just unbelievable workloads, and for that reason it's become a catch-22 because they are not able to do their job properly.
I think it's a really underrated profession, both in general society and in the Somali community, where a lot of Somali families always think that people have just done teaching because they had no other plan, and in that way, like loads of people just get lost, where they actually had, you know, an ambition to be a teacher, but everyone sees them as, oh, but you didn't have anything else to do. And in society, placing this whole, like in general, in society in general, teaching, I just feel is extremely underrated.
Even like they even give grants, don't they, to like if you want to become a teacher? Because I've seen like so many adverts saying, hey, if you want to become a teacher, we'll pay you like this amount of money. So they're making it like
30 grand tax free if you have a physics degree and you want to train as a physics teacher.
See that even like I don't want to be a teacher, but if someone tells me I'm going to get 30 grand, I'm going to be a teacher.
But then teachers like you,
but that's what I'm saying. But they make it really easy. They're making it like a really easy thing to go into. Like why would I not just do that?
And they make it easy because they're in crisis. They need more teachers, but the teachers that they have are leaving quicker than they can recruit more to replace them, and the ones that they recruit aren't good enough. So it's a vicious cycle. But I don't really know what the solution is. I
also like find it like going back to like the education system, that the kids that misbehave, they don't know how to treat, like they don't know how to deal with that. So everyone's got like a copy and pasted method of how to deal with kids. Like, oh, you got to like just kick him out, or like, and that just kind of like makes him go further away from the point that he was meant to be at. One way, like one of my teachers in school dealt with like anyone that misbehaved. He used to like take time out and just like speak to them, like find out what's going on with them, like why are they misbehaving, like are they just doing it because they want to impress someone, or like what is the actual issue? And that way they make these little kids at the time feel like adults. And then that does a lot for the kid as well, because now he's thinking, all right, I'm an adult. I'm like, I'm being spoken to as an adult, and I'm gonna be like start behaving and like start acting properly. But if you speak to someone as a kid and you're like, oh yeah, stop misbehaving, like you treat someone like a kid, they're just gonna continue doing what they want to do. And I find like a lot of kids that nowadays get excluded and that kind of stuff. That's the main thing that's causing the whole cycle, because they don't know, they're just doing stuff, and once you're like placed within that cycle, there's only one way out, and that's you're gonna get excluded, because it's like you're rebelling against the whole system. You think the whole world's against you. You think like, oh yeah, look at these teachers, they're all against me, and then you might even play the race card in your head, even though it might not even be that, but you all that stuff will play in your head, and that will just make you more like rebellious and try to like escape the whole system.
I mean, it's like a genuine social theory that if somebody is labelled as being a troublemaker or as being good, they are likely to fulfill what they have been labelled as. And I do feel like, I don't know, maybe it's quite controversial, but I do feel like that is one of the biggest reasons why Somali boys do less well than girls in high school or maybe primary school, like in the first like up to 16 like levels of education, because I feel like Somali boys are labelled as troublemaker, hard to handle, much more than girls. And now especially with the added radicalization, oh my god, is this an extremist, I need to report them before the Daily Mail turn up at my doorstep saying you were the last person whose classroom this child was in before they left it. Like I feel like boys suffer more than girls in like on statutory level in schools, but then girls suffer more at home because parents like I feel like one of the biggest reasons why boys tend to catch up with girls, because I feel like they do later on, like post 18, is because of how so many girls are not allowed to move out for university. Like it becomes geography as opposed to league tables for girls, and boys it's the other way around. It's like
as long as you get
as long as you're in university, go where you wish, do whatever course you wish. Whereas a girl, it's like, but there's a university
geography,
one bus journey away, so why are you going to go to it's not like an issue of league tables. And I feel like that kind of bridges the gap, but I don't know, like I feel like people,
but you're still saying that the girls are better.
No, I feel like in both genders there are genuine, like both really good students and not as good ones. But my issue is, I feel as though what hurdles they face are different. So what holds a girl back in like an ethnic minority girl, or Somali specifically, I feel like I can't speak for all ethnic minorities, is very different to what holds a boy back. A boy is like a girl, as I was saying, it might be her family, and then a boy is this whole being. I feel like they're more susceptible to gang culture than a girl. I don't think I've ever in my life seen a Somali girl that's repping like a gang. I don't think I've ever seen it. Whereas boys are more susceptible to that, and are more likely to be drawn to this whole fast money, like today's version of deetsing, which has always existed but was just in different forms, where you seek money that's not yours, and a lot of that time that stems from being the oldest boy in their house because their dad isn't there.
Yeah, they got a lot of pressure on them.
So like I feel like they both have hurdles, but the one for me that they all have in common is the school level implicit racism. Like everyone, it doesn't matter, good, bad student, boy, girl, everyone.
It's pretty confusing. It's such a mess. But I'm not gonna lie, the whole education system is such a mess. Like, and there's a lot of things that, even like the stuff that we don't know how long we're speaking to. How long are we speaking for? 40 minutes. All right, so we might as well wrap up. But I don't know how, like, it's such a deep conversation, and this is just like the starting point of it. There's so many different things that cause it, and there's so many different things that lead up to it. Even like I think it begins at home, and even though like I don't know, I'm not gonna say Somali parents like or any parents that is everything to do with them, but I feel like they can fix it from their point of view, because they can do so many different things, and like even if it's just like making the kid like understand, or even supporting the kid, because a lot of parents, they go, when the kids come home, they like try to trash them even further, or like you're failing. Instead of saying you're failing, like say to them, come on, try harder. Like little things like that make a huge difference in a kid's life. And
before we wrap up, can I just
go for it?
I know we've spent a lot of time like focusing on the negatives, but I'm sure we can all agree that whether it's in school, in university, in most areas of life, Somalis are actually doing fantastic. Like we've come such a long way, and I think it's also important that we cheer that on. And I work in a school, I can see that the Somali students in our school as well, they're doing fantastic, and it's the same across most schools. You work in a lot of schools as well, I'm sure you can say the same. So as much as we do have issues, we are doing really, really well, and it's something to be proud of. And earlier from what I was saying about how we need to take on sort of more responsibility and more what was the word, like more accountability. There are a lot of parents who are still doing an amazing job. There are like, you know, I know just even the parents that I know are really involved in like their students, I keep saying their student, I'm such a teacher, in their children's lives, and they are really trying their best. They might not necessarily have all the answers, but the effort is there, and if the effort is there, then at least you're going in the right direction. So I just thought I'd say that.
And if I could add also, like, I feel like even though I have been negative about the schooling system, it is still the best way for an ethnic minority to make something of themselves.
It's true.
So I would just add, like, rub this English.
It doesn't give the excuse to not go to school.
Just get what you can for yourself.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look here, you're a graduate, I'm a graduate, you're a graduate. So even despite all this, like that, they are just hurdles. It's not actually someone physically, you know, stopping you from succeeding in whatever you wish.
Nothing can stop you from achieving what you want to achieve unless it's not written for you.
School.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, even though it's a hurdle, don't make an excuse, which was trying, you know what I mean? So like get over it kind of thing, and just, you know, achieve your dream.
Literally,
like, don't take it personally. Basically, if a teacher is rude to you, or a member of staff, or just report someone in society, cool. Just, you know, just don't take it personally. Just
don't take it personally, but do something about it as well.
It's for no one else to decide what you want to make of yourself. It's for you to decide always.
You got this.
How badly do you want it, really? Isn't it? That's what makes it. But yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, and then their social medias will be at the description, and ours as well. So yeah, thank you. Bye.
Yes.
Yay.
That was honestly fantastic, guys.
Well, so-
It's not good timing.